Thoughts on the Canada deal that didn't go through? Yeah, it's stupid. Look, here's the deal. If you guys don't know what happened, 3 days ago, Donald J. Trump, he announced this, right? He goes, hey, I've paused the 50% tariffs against Canada that were scheduled to kick in based on the fact that Canada and the USA, subject to the finalization of documents, have a deal. 3 days ago, we had a deal. Guaranteed. And the great Keystone XL pipeline killed by Sleepy Joe may be awoken from the grave. And then he followed it up by posting a photo, an AI-generated photo of him ripping the Keystone pipeline out of its grave. And it says buried by Biden. This is our president. So that was 3 days ago. We thought there was no problem. But then as of midnight last night, which was the deadline, Canada at the last minute pulled out of trade talks. They took Dominic LeBlanc, looks like this, who is their lead negotiator, and had him come home to Ottawa and pulled him out. And the reasoning was, according to Mark Carney, is that at the last minute, the US was trying to add new restrictions to the deal, specifically on other trade deals Canada was allowed to have. Now, if you read into that, it's like RE China, I guess, is probably the idea. I think they had come to terms on some sort of trade deal, but then the US wanted to add restrictions. So it's like, okay, you can sign our deal, but you can't sign any others, specifically one with China. Carney did not want that. Of course, that's not a part of the deal. Certainly, he should be allowed as an executive to make deals with other nations that are favorable to his nation. So they pulled out of the deal. And so in response, Trump declared 50% tariffs on all Canadian goods. And Mark Carney announced that he's going to go tit for tat and do 50% tariffs in kind on American goods. Things like, alcohol is one of the big ones. Whatever gets exported up to Canada. So listen, it's going to be economically painful for both sides. Likely more for Canada, but they have to do this because it's like otherwise you're just getting bullied around. I think I respect his ability to stand up on this. Again, I think there's got to be a more diplomatic way. I don't understand Trump's insistence on fighting an economic and physical war on every single front at once at the same time. It is stretching our country impossibly thin in stupid battles that we shouldn't be fighting. It makes no sense that we can't come to a common ground with fucking Canada. It's insane. Canada is such a similar country. It's so close. We have so much common ground. It's such a porous border of like ideas and people and businesses and employees, and it's just crazy to be doing it this way. So that's the current spot we find ourselves in. What's interesting is, in terms of like regular day-to-day goods, you suppose you could have supply chain duplication on the American side and it wouldn't hurt them as bad. But there's one area where Canada really does have a strong economic leverage or ability to squeeze, and that's oil. So this is U.S. crude oil imports by source. You'll notice ever since Venezuela kind of imploded and Mexico has decreased, Canada has become like the vast, vast majority of U.S. crude oil imports. And they all go here primarily to the Gulf Coast refineries. This is where all the Venezuelan oil goes, where the Mexican oil goes, and it's also where the Canadian oil goes, especially once they get a pipeline built, which I think is the plan. And so what Canada is going to do, they're already trying to find other partners with which to export oil. They're building different pipelines. And additionally, what they really want to do is get some refineries built within Canada. And if they do that, then they capture all that value add. All of it gets refined in Canada and then exported all over. Because right now, once you get the crude oil, you basically have to put it in a refinery before it can be shipped out. And America is one of the largest exporters of refined oil in the world now. It might be the largest. I think it passed Saudi Arabia. So now this goes out to Europe and it goes out to South America and it goes out everywhere. So Canada wants to capture some of that value trade and get refineries, which is where some of the contention comes from. Again, just I think a stupid attempt by Trump to, play economic terrorist on what was recently a close ally that had overall net positive opinion of America. I just don't get it. It would be stupid on its own, but in context of also being a war in Iran, also being trade wars with Europe, also being trade wars with South Korea, also pulling out of Japan and South Korea, also, it's just insane. There's just too many things at once. All of them are destabilizing every partnership we built our alliances on. Art of the deal. How are these tariffs still allowed if the Supreme Court can't shut them down? That's a great question. They've started reapplying tariffs using different legalese is the basic answer to what it is. They basically said, The Supreme Court shut down us using tariffs in that specific way, and we're now using them in a different way. There's a chance this could get shut down again if you go forward. And at which point there would be another round of massive tariff refunds to the corporations. It's like insane. But it's gonna take another 18 months? Yeah, probably 18 months. Probably another 18 months. That's exactly right. What happens next? TBD. I mean, they both have an incentive to come to the table because this makes no sense. It's just really stupid economically for us to be beefing with Canada. It's been said before, but Trump's absolute inability to conceive of relationships that are not transactional is destroying. I agree. There's like a phrase that I heard, which is like, you can't have a good deal with a bad guy. And every country is slowly waking up to that fact. There's no good deal. Every deal is built on him attempting to put maximum pressure, screw you over as much as possible. And even if you like hammer out a good deal, he reneges on it as soon as the winds are in his favor or he has something he can squeeze you with. So it's like you just can't build a lasting deal. And so everybody is like trying to instead build lasting leverage against him by getting whatever thing they have that can hurt him and trying to build that up, whether that be oil refineries or in South Korea's case, maybe it's a nuke where, whatever. Everyone's trying to build something to get out of that ability to get squeezed. Yeah, it's not a good way to build relationships. And like, there should be a way to do a win-win. I'm going to say something crazy. I'm going to say something bold. I think it's possible for the US and Canada to have mutually beneficial trade. I know that sounds crazy, but I think it's possible to make a deal where two similar countries that have operated as allies and in peace for decades to have a positive win-win trade relationship where they both benefit. I think that's possible. And so to turn it into this is crazy. I just think one of the fundamentals of deal making to make it a lasting good deal is you have to give a little bit to get something. That's just fair dealing. The idea, even if you are incredibly advantaged with somebody, even if you have all the advantage and you're like, I don't have to give them shit, I can bully them and I can force them to accept the deal that I want. Even if that works, which I don't think it's gonna work in this case because the advantage is not as big as it would need to be. But even if that works, they resent you for it. They hate you for it. They are constantly looking during that deal of how to get out from under your thumb, how to change the balance of power. So it's like, why do those kind of deals? You can do a deal where you sacrifice a little bit to get what is truly important to you. Like, let's say for example, the US had a long-term strategy, okay, of trying to onshore manufacturing back to North America in general. So as part of the deal, they're like, hey, we would really like you to not do a open auto agreement with China where you have free trade on autos. That's important to us that there's a tariff barrier that keeps Chinese EVs out of America. I don't think it's a good idea, but whatever, that's the idea. Maybe you're a long-term trying to reshore auto manufacturing. In that case, if they're gonna do that for you, you have to give something. Okay. You have to make it worth their while. What is the benefit that you're giving them? But instead, he gives nothing. He offers nothing. He just demands. And of course, Mark Carney is eventually gonna have to stand up for the sovereignty of his nation and put his foot down and say, even though it's gonna hurt us, we have to fucking stand on this. And what's crazy is, this wasn't made up. This has been said by both sides. Both sides, Carney and Trump, 3 days ago, were saying they had finally hammered out a deal. So when you finally hammer out a deal, smile, shake hands, sign it, and follow it. Don't go last minute. One more thing. I was reading that Disney War book, and they describe when Disney was trying to buy ABC Studios, ABC TV network, which they did. But the process took forever because they would agree on a number and they would say, okay, we're going to buy you for $78 a share. That's a fair price. We get this, we'll do this. And then they shake hands. And then the fucking CEO, Michael Eisner, would get on his treadmill and then call the CEO like one day before it's about to be signed and go, you know what? How about $78.50 or whatever? He would cut 25 cents off. He would just try to fucking nickel and dime, just change it the last second. And then they're like, we agreed on a deal already. No. And then the whole thing would get thrown off by months. They would push it back. So it's like, it's just bad. I don't know why he thinks it's the art of the deal. Trump's war on US beef. I think this is misframed, by the way. Okay, I'll tell you about this story because this is an interesting one. Donald J. Trump realizing skyrocketing beef prices have Americans finally reaching their spending limit. And you saw this, by the way, with some of Walmart's recent earnings reports. People are getting really frustrated. Beef and gas prices are two things that Americans feel more than anything. If there are any two commodities in the world that Americans get pissed when the price goes up, it's beef and oil. And both of them have been rising as a result of Donald Trump's decisions. But beef has been rising even faster. And so right before midterms, people are getting fucking angry. If they go to the grocery store and they see that beef is 30% up in price or more, they get really frustrated. So as part of an effort to lower frantically beef prices before midterms, Donald Trump announced he's going to be cutting all the tariffs on beef. So he announces, today, I concluded a deal to substantially lower the price of ground beef for working American families. As everyone knows, under President Biden, by the way, this is the second story today where he talks about fucking Biden. He's still running the Biden card. The Canada thing's Biden's fault. The beef thing's Biden's fault. Beef prices soared at their fastest rate, and the American beef herd fell to its smallest size in modern history. As we work to rebuild the herd and help our ranchers, for the next 90 days, the U.S. will allow up to 300,000 metric tons of product for the ground beef to be imported with no out-of-quota tariff. All right, just to be very simply, this makes absolutely no fucking sense. If your goal is to help rebuild the herd and help our ranchers, then allowing foreign producers to import beef at lower prices hurts them because they get outcompeted. Now, I have no problem with that. I think they should have to compete. I got no problem with it. But if your goal is to protect American farmers, then you keep the tariff up and they get an advantage. But on its face, what this really, the important story of this is that he's admitting that to get beef prices down, we have to lower the tariff. Despite in every other avenue saying that tariffs are a good thing, they don't pass the prices on to people. In this case, when he actually needs the prices to go down for midterms, he's admitting the tariff has only hurt them. He didn't say where the beef is coming from. I mean, it's mostly Argentina. I don't even know what the second biggest importer is, but it's mostly Argentina that we get our beef imported from. Argentina has become a major beef exporter. And I guess Brazil. Yeah. This will reduce prices for Americans while giving space for our great American beef herd to grow again. The great American beef herd. So it's still American beef? Well, it's South American beef, I guess. But yeah, that's the idea. Right now, if you export beef from Brazil or Argentina, there's a tariff when it comes to America, which makes the prices more expensive, which helps American farmers by making them more cost competitive, which again, I'm not a huge fan of, but if that's the goal, that's what you do. It does provide a subsidy to American farmers. He's claiming it's a subsidy while also claiming like it's doing the opposite of what he says, and it's proving that tariffs are stupid. Like it doesn't make any sense, but I guess that's not even an anomaly anymore. So is he going to pay farmers a bailout? I don't think so. I mean, maybe after this. So all the beef farmers in America are up in arms. They're fucking angry because now they have to compete on price with Argentinian and Brazilian beef. So they're mad. So the beef lobby's mad at Trump, and so he's probably going to have to give them a bailout. They're going to probably give him a fucking golden steak or something, and then he goes, okay, we're going to give a huge subsidy to him. You know, it's like, everything is looping through him and through the government coffer. We're going to bail out the bailout. It's turning the incentive in every industry to not be good at making a good product at a good price, but to be really good at playing the Washington political game and working through Trump to get a deal or a bailout or a cut or a fucking tariff. Whatever hell, it's like that's becoming the most incentivized skill. And so our beef industry is going to be very good at that and not very good at like producing good quality beef at a good price. You sound woke. Do I? Is this a particularly woke line of thought?